Ito ang Inter Broadcasting Corporation. Sa bagong Pilipinas.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
Good evening. You're watching the Chairman's Report, brought to you by IBC 13 and the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, an agency under the Office of the President mandated to connect the Filipino diaspora with their home country, the Philippines. I'm Dante Klink II, Chairman of the CFO and your program host. We are honored to welcome a distinguished representative of one of the Philippines' most valued European partners, a nation known globally for its commitment to sustainability and equality. Our guest, His Excellency Ambassador Franz Michael Melvin, is a career diplomat who brings extensive experience in international cooperation and development to Manila. Before his current posting, he served in key roles strengthening Denmark's global diplomatic presence, including serving as ambassador to the UAE, permanent representative to the International Renewable Energy Agency, and Commissioner General for Denmark at Expo 2020. A few months back, our guest engaged with the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, a reflection of the priority he places on the well-being of the Filipino diaspora. His focus is timely, as thousands of Filipino migrants have found success and built new lives in Denmark, contributing significantly to the Danish society and maintaining strong ties with their homeland. This people-to-people link forms the very foundation of the strong diplomatic ties that bind the Philippines and Denmark, a relationship that has grown robustly through cooperation in trade, maritime affairs, and green energy initiatives. However, a key point of discussion and a matter of mutual importance remains the complex and often vulnerable situation of Filipino au pairs in Denmark. His Excellency's commitment to ensuring the safety and rights of this crucial group of Filipinos is central to his current diplomatic mission. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to His Excellency, the Ambassador of Denmark to the Philippines, Franz Michael Melvin. Mr. Ambassador, welcome to the Chairman's Report.
Great to be here.
Yes. So let me start with something that resonated with me when you spoke at our 40th anniversary last July, and that is, you said that Danish people, or was it European people, love the Filipinos. Could you expound on that, why that is so?
Well, it's absolutely a fact that Danes view Filipinos very favorably, and I think there are two factors to that. One is from the seafaring experience, so we have very many Danish Filipino seafarers on Danish ships, so there's been quite a lot of people-to-people exchange and relationships through the seafaring community, and there are also many thousands of Filipinos in the Philippines working for Danish shipping companies here, like the Maersk Company and others. And the other thing is that Filipinos tend to integrate very well into the Danish society. Okay. So we can see them, performing very well in the jobs. They're very reliable and trustworthy, and they seem to fit the fabric of Danish society in a positive way. And all that contributes to a very positive impression of Filipinos in Denmark.
That's pretty reassuring, because over the past few years there seems to be a sort of anti-immigration sentiment across Europe, and certainly we see it in North America. I don't want to mention a particular country, but is that why there is an initiative from your government now to maybe expand on this relationship, particularly in the medical field? Maybe you can talk about the visit of your minister, the finance minister, I believe, came here last December.
It was foreign minister, and absolutely this was a strong motivator that when it came to the healthcare sector, Filipinos are seen as a viable, integratable workforce, and we know there's a high standard when it comes to the education here, so that there was a good complementarity community. Now, when the foreign minister was here, the focus was on two groups, nurses, and then what you call national competence level 2.
Okay.
We call them healthcare superintendents.
Okay. Would that be similar to caregivers or something like that?
Yeah, caregivers,
America?
but with twist, because, and that's why I said superintendents.
I
Because
see.
these caregivers are actually performing by themselves.
I see.
So they're not necessarily surrounded, by doctors and
Right.
others, but they go out to elderly people or the infirm,
Their homes or-
to their homes.
I see.
And they both perform, some assistance there, but they also have to make assessments. Do people need some extra help, or is it time for them to check up with the doctor? Maybe they need some social services. So there's added responsibility to that, and that's why we call them healthcare superintendents.
And that's a pretty intimate kind of work. There's a lot of personal connection and
And then the trust and the compatibility
Right.
culturally and elsewise becomes very important.
and then the welcoming attitude. Is it because of the values, or is it because of we speak English, so it's easier to communicate, or is it something else? And are you looking at any other countries besides the Philippines to fill this role in Danish society?
For this particular program, we're looking at India and the Philippines.
India and the Philippines.
India is sort of struggling a little right now, but
Okay.
we expect that
Right.
there will be a breakthrough at some point in time. We're a little more optimistic about the Philippines,
Okay.
also because the Philippines has a solid tradition of
Okay.
the government also stepping in and trying to make sure that the overseas workers have defined roles,
Okay.
and also a support mechanism to make that going. So there's a lot of experience within the Philippine government on how to make bilateral agreements, and we can sense that. So I'm quite optimistic that we might even during this year have an agreement on this group of people.
So this would be a treaty or a contract, or how would this
It would be a memorandum of understanding
MOU?
between the
Okay.
two countries,
Okay.
which would essentially say something about the rights and expectations of the Filipino workers coming.
Okay.
And then from the Danish side, it would be something about fine. We need these educational standards
Right.
and language requirements,
Right.
which is an important thing to be met. And then there will be a third part, which is about how we can support the education and development of such healthcare superintendents in the Philippines.
I see. So when you say language, does that mean English, or do they have to learn some maybe rudimentary Danish?
A lot of them will have to learn Danish. And
Okay.
This is, I think, the biggest barrier
Okay.
that we are facing. That is that we will be offering these people to learn Danish so
Right.
that they can take up a job. There are a lot of jobs in Denmark where you can get along with English. So if we look at the seafaring community, if we look at people like engineers or chefs or many people in the service sector, which we also have many in Denmark, they can get along well with English. But because these healthcare superintendents
They're not supervised. They're in homes. Yeah.
by themselves
Yeah.
to elderly Danes living by themselves in their homes and having to assist, then the language requirement will be there. And
Right.
we'll try to provide, adequate training, make
Right.
sure that people have that opportunity, and also try to pay them while
Right.
they're taking that, so that they feel they have an income
Right.
while they're taking the language training.
So they can do that at the same time.
And they
That's
can
it.
do that same.
So, what kind of numbers are we talking about when you sign, or when we sign the MOU? Is there a number of what's the demand basically?
The demand is quite high. We're
Okay.
talking about several thousands, but the way it will work is that we will start out with a pilot project.
I
It
see.
will be some hundred,
Okay.
and then we will scale based on the experiences. So we will take in, a certain number, and then we will try to draw some experiences from that, and then we can go the next step and scale of, but there's quite large demand for sure.
So you say that you said a while ago that you hope to sign the MOU this year.
Yes.
What needs to happen? Does one of our departments they have to sign upon it, or?
Actually, we have a draft,
Okay.
which is with the Filipino government right
Okay.
now, and it's sort of moving forth and back between
Okay.
Copenhagen and Manila.
Okay.
So I just think that at some point in time, this ping pong match
Yeah.
will end.
Well, what are some of the
with a nice
concerns?
draw, and then we can move on.
What are some of the concerns? I mean, from the Philippines side, what are you hearing? Because some people are saying that maybe they are concerned about losing so many healthcare workers, nurses, and stuff. But we know there's more than enough to be supplied. But
Yeah.
what are you hearing from our side?
I think we're hearing basically two things. One is that the Philippines need some support in the healthcare sector.
Okay.
And whether that looks like one thing or the other and how
Okay.
closely it's connected directly to this program, that's up for discussion.
Okay.
So there are some wishes from the Filipino side. And some of that may be related to education, but it may also be other things that
Okay.
can be helpful and supportive for the Filipino healthcare system. Because some of the challenges that the Philippines is facing, and not just the Philippines, this is a global challenge, is that you have healthcare workers in certain areas of your country, but you're lacking them in others, not because you're lacking the numbers,
Yes.
but because people are not induced
Yeah.
or motivated to
Right.
go these places.
Right.
Like-
Concentrated in the urban
they're
centers. Yeah.
So you have a lot of nurses and healthcare workers here, for example, who are in the BPO and BPI sector. Not because they didn't want to do nursing, but because they get a better job in
Better off.
that sector,
Yeah.
and they'd rather work in Manila than in some remote island. So that's another kind of structural problem. So from the Danish side, we are looking at these language requirements and how can they be fulfilled. And there may also be a need to fine-tune some of the courses. But I have to say that we find the Philippine government is very much on top of things, and we have until now quite a good and fluid discussion. There's also the question of the workers' rights, and I know that the Philippine government is very eager to ensure that Filipino qualifications are not undersold in the market, so to say, and they also want to make sure that Filipinos and Danish or European workers working in Denmark get the same wage. This is not a problem in my country.
Okay.
We have sort of equal pay basis, but in some countries, they will pay foreign workers less.
When we were talking about this months ago, when I first learned about this, there was I think an idea of maybe giving opportunities to some of the Filipinos who did not make it in their nursing board exam. Is that still on the table under discussion?
That's absolutely on the table, because
Okay.
this is something that the Philippine side government has said to us. Here we can be helpful, because some Filipinos invest in a nursing education,
Right.
but for various reasons,
don't
sometimes
pass
just
the board.
financial. Sometimes it's because they don't pass, but sometimes also because they run out of financial money.
I see.
And they sort of have a sunk investment.
Right.
And that can be picked up by becoming an NC2 and maybe getting the opportunity to go to Denmark and harvest that investment. So I think it is a good opportunity also to offer some of those who might have invested, 1 or 2, 3 years, but didn't make the cut anyway.
Right.
So that they can come back and have another good opportunity. And you get a good wage in Denmark for that.
I see. So they are able to do the work on a limited way and get this competency while they're working?
They can do that, and there will also be the opportunity to this is something we have talked with the government about, that yes, they might start off NC2,
I see.
go to Denmark, but then maybe take a further education on
I
top
see.
of that. And you know, education is for free in Denmark. So some of them might say, okay, now I'd like to try to stay in Denmark in an additional year or two,
Okay.
and then take that nursing exam that I always dreamed about. So that may also be an opportunity for some.
Very, very exciting. So I hope you get it signed pretty soon. Is there you think a date that you can you're looking at?
No.
You know, or is it going to be a Christmas gift for?
Don't dare that. But I think it sounds to me like it could be a Christmas gift.
Okay.
So,
Well,
to all of us.
you know, we're allowed to think wishfully, right? So we'll have to take a quick break. We're talking to the Ambassador of Denmark, Frans Michael Melvin, and we'll be right back.
Ang Bureau of Internal Revenue ng quarterly royalty mula sa
Samantala, mas mapabibilis na ang pagpapatayo ng mga ospital, pamilihan, terminal at iba pang
na palakasin ang sektor ng kalusugan sa bansa. Marami na sa mga Pilipino ang
Welcome back to the Chairman's Report. We're talking to Ambassador Frans Michael Melvin. So interesting thing about the opportunities for our nurses, but I understand that there are some Danish companies that are quietly doing something important and substantial in the Philippines. Some Danish companies doing some work on or investments in renewable energy. Can you talk about that?
It's actually the largest current foreign investment in the Philippines.
country, yeah.
Is a large-scale wind farm down in Bicol, in the bay.
In Camarines Norte or something?
Camarines Norte and in the bay there. It's a huge project. It's 1 gigawatt, so and that would add quite sizably to your current electricity production, which is important because you know there's an ongoing energy crisis in the sense that in some parts of the country there's simply not electricity enough, so this would be
Not just in some parts of the country, but
so, yeah, you need more, and you need cheaper, affordable and reliable energy. That's what you need. So that can be very helpful. And it's not just about the energy project itself, which is moving forward very well, but it's also about the economic activity that these investments will draw in. So we are looking at new investment opportunities, not just within the renewable sector, but also other sectors. And I was just down in Bicol. I had a meeting with the governor. I had a meeting with Lenny, the mayor now
in Naga,
in Naga, and other local leaders and the local business communities. We also brought along the European Chamber of Commerce to talk about, okay, now you will have this increased economic activity. What kind of other investments could there be? And we talked about the digital space. We talked about opportunities in the marine sector. We talked about the agricultural sector. There was something on manufacturing also. There are quite a lot of areas where there can be some other opportunities which create new jobs and prosperity for Filipinos, and which can be beneficial for European and Danish investors also. So I'm quite optimistic that these very large-scale projects will not only help the Philippines generate more electricity, but also draw in other kinds of investments to the country.
And this company, it's funded by the CIP.
Copenhagen Investment Partners.
Right. So going back to that, when does it come online? Where is it at the development stage?
Well, sooner is better, and since my own target is 2028 for sure,
Okay.
I know that's the president's target also.
Right.
And CIP have promised the president that they will be able to cut the red ribbon together. That's
Wow.
definitely my timeline also. And what I've said to the president is, Mr. President, cut the red tape, we'll cut the red ribbons together.
So these are, talk about the technology, these are offshore wind farms, is that correct?
It's offshore wind farms,
Okay.
so they will be standing in the bay.
Okay.
There'll be, I think, around 120 of these wind turbines.
Wow.
It won't be the very largest, but they're still like 120 meters each of
Right.
these, and then there's the wings that are about 40 meters, so they'll
Right.
be sort of 160 meters into the sky.
Wow.
They are even larger. I mean, the very largest ones that they're building and testing in Denmark now are 450 meters into the sky.
Oh, wow.
But they also have to fit the area and the wind
Right.
situation.
Right.
So it will be a very sizable project for sure. But that's also why it can generate so much
Right.
power.
Are you allowed to mention the name of the company, or is that something that's...
The ones who will be delivering the wind turbine?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. So we just have to wait for it.
CIP will announce.
We'll announce.
And there may be also several suppliers. It's not
Okay.
unknown that you have different suppliers.
Right.
part-
You have the whole supply chain
Yeah,
contributing to.
Yeah, so you may have like half or 2/3 of a wind farm is one,
Right.
and the other is something else.
Right.
And that may also depend on wind conditions. So right now they are.
Well, we have a lot of typhoons going through that area, so that's.
So right now they are measuring the wind,
Okay.
and when they have all the wind data, they can match that to the best type of turbines.
I see.
Compared to the area. So
That's interesting.
It's a very methodical way because you want each wind turbine to deliver the maximum
The
energy.
optimal, yeah. Wow. So, are there going to be local jobs created, or is this going to be a highly automated type of system, or?
Well, there are a lot of jobs created during construction.
Okay.
So that's sort of there will be a bulk of construction work because
Okay.
it's such a large project and
Okay.
these things are so large,
Right.
big. There's a port being made, simply to allow
Okay.
the placement of these wind farms. So there's a port development which is ongoing and which of course creates jobs in itself. There'll be service ships and things like that.
Right.
Afterwards, once the dust settles, so to say, and the turbines are
Right.
running, there will still be a number of qualified engineering jobs connected to the wind farm. And
To
they will
operate it,
be- operate maintenance, and that will be a permanent group.
Right.
But will be lower than during the construction phase. So
Right.
the construction phase, sort of the intense phase for workers.
Right.
And here there's also an opportunity to actually educate people. We talked about that when I was down in Bicol, to make sure that we can upskill and reskill local workers to become workers for the wind industry.
For the company,
Because this is a growing industry rapidly on a global scale. And there are also opportunities for skilled workers through a certification program. We call it Jobs for RE, which will be launched here in a few weeks globally.
Okay.
So you can have a global certificate, and with this certificate, you can get a job at any wind farm
Wow.
anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And that will, of course, create a lot of opportunities. So we do expect that some of those who re-educate themselves or upskill themselves for this project will be able to have certificates that will allow them either to work on other wind farms in the Philippines or take jobs, in Japan or Taiwan or Korea, where they're also making quite a large wind investment.
And when you say this is the biggest foreign direct investment in the country, what ballpark figure are we talking about here?
$1 billion plus.
$1 billion plus. Wow. And their experience, because they have been doing the construction for a year now or something like that, or?
Well, they're not constructing yet.
Okay.
Right now
they're doing the preparatory work.
They're measuring
the wind mapping and all of that stuff.
They have very advanced wind measuring equipment, which is scanning the whole area. Then they're doing surveys on the bottom of the seabed to check where
where to put the
foot in the
windmills here.
How stable is the soil and stuff like that. Because as you mentioned, there are typhoons. I mean, these things have to
have to withstand. So obviously, you said you talked to the president and the local government. They're also cooperating.
Yes, I have to say we're very impressed both by the central and local government. It's been easy ride until now. Of course, there are always you have such a large project. There are issues, but I have to say that it's been a very smooth ride, and the Filipino government has done a lot to make it much easier for people to invest in renewable energy. Like the 100% foreign ownership is possible.
That's right.
They have made it easier to go through customs. Permitting has been streamlined a lot. All these things are really helpful, and in fact, it's the case right now that Philippines is the next easiest country in the world to do renewable energy.
What's the first?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that. And it's not Denmark. Unfortunately, it's not Denmark. I know that for a fact. But Philippines is number 2 in the world. And that's really interesting because I
didn't know that. The word
and it's a very good story because unfortunately, doing business in the Philippines is not that great. I'm sorry to say.
But for RE, it's an exception.
It's exceptional. And what it tells the Philippine government and the Philippine public is the Philippines can, of course, have a very good investment environment. It's not magic. We can do it. And you
and
this is the proof. This is the proof. So let's have more of this.
So because things are going smoothly, has this encouraged more eyeballs from Denmark?
Absolutely.
You said you brought a group from the European Chamber.
Absolutely, and not just Denmark. This is for foreign investors. A lot of foreign investors are eyeing this project now because of the size, because of its placement, because it's not the service sector. You're doing very well in the service sector, but the service sector is much easier to operate than this kind of project. So a lot of foreign investors are eyeballing this as a test case. Will it stick? And I think this is also one of the reasons why I believe the government is really doing a lot to make sure let's have a positive story about foreign investments in the Philippines. So it's great, and we're very happy about what we're seeing.
And we certainly need more power to fuel that growth.
A need for a lot more power because it's about future growth. And the country will simply run out of power options. And one of the things that Marcus saw correctly was, renewable energy is the fastest way to get more energy. So solar and wind can be expanded quite a lot fast and give new inputs to the existing grid.
All right, very interesting. Please stay tuned. We're talking to Ambassador Frans Michael Melvin of Denmark. We'll be right back with the Chairman's Report.
Obra mula sa basura? Pwede yan, basta't kasama mo ang buong Artkada. Kaya Artlinks, game na ba kayo? Ilabas na ang inyong art materials at unleash your creative minds. Let's turn trash into treasures sa mga super fun at colorful activities. Don't worry, si Kuya Kel ang bahala sa inyo. Kalye, sining tuwing Sabado, 4 p.m.
back to the Chairman's Report. I'm Dante, Klink. We're talking to Ambassador Francis Michael Melvin. You know, I mentioned au pairs in the beginning, and a lot of people ask me what those are, but maybe it should come from you. That from our end, you know, we view it as a cultural exchange program. But what is this French term au pair, and how do they fit into Danish society?
Well, it is a cultural exchange program, and it's really about allowing Filipinos to go to Denmark, live with families, learn the language, learn the country.
Right.
And there's a whole setup for how we take au pairs in, and they can get free language training and things like that. So it's a very well organized program in Denmark, fortunately, and Filipinos are extremely popular. So because when you have an au pair, they come and live with you in the family.
Right.
So it's like a family thing. And for that reason, of course, trust and being able to integrate is very, very important, because, I mean,
Having around your children.
they're around with children, and you trust them with your home, with your pets, and your things. And so I'm very happy to share that more than 8 out of 10 au pairs in Denmark are Filipinos.
Right.
And again, as we talked about before, it does reflect that Filipinos are very popular in Denmark and seen as, you know, stable, trustworthy, and integrate well. So it's a high marker of trust and comfort, frankly, with Filipinos.
And I think our challenge for our agency is trying to explain to people that this is a cultural exchange, but although, I mean, the reality is some people view this as a way to migrate to
more as a job opportunity.
And of course, that's where I think we get into some trouble. Not in Denmark, because you're probably like the top destination for Filipino au pairs, but elsewhere in Europe, they're not as welcome as they are in your country, and there are some, of course, political factors there with labor groups and seeing au pairs as, you know, potential competitors for some jobs. But is there a similar concern in Denmark that maybe it is being used as maybe a way to permanently stay in?
Not when it comes. They are not seen as competition for
cheap
regular workers market. That's also because of the regulations are quite strict
in your country.
There's also things like they can't work more than 30 hours a week, and these obligations that family take upon themselves to make sure that they learn Danish, stuff like that. So we sort of try to preserve that cultural element. The concern in Denmark is really something else, which is, you know, do the au pairs get treated well in families? And that is a concern to some Danes who feel, well, the au pairs can be a vulnerable group, they're far away from their homes, and they're alone. And that's where you actually find the concern in Denmark. We do have quite a strong system with the municipality is responsible, and they have a social welfare system and social workers, and it's very approachable. But if you don't understand the Danish system, and you are not used to seeing the government unit as somebody who steps in for you, which not everybody does everywhere in the world, in the same way we do as Denmark, where everybody expects, you know, the government will come in, they'll support you, they'll be on your side and stuff like that. Then that may get lost, and people may not use those opportunities. And for this reason, I think it's good that the Philippine embassies and the Filipino embassy in Denmark, they have these outreaches, both for those who are working, but also for the au pairs, just to educate them about, okay, this is what the setup is, this is your rights. If you feel that, you know, the family, the host family is not sticking to the rules, or it is not what you expected, you know, there are options to get assistance, either from the embassy or from the Danish welfare system.
Of course, I think we sent a team to your country to look at your system, because it's not the same across Europe, as you probably heard, right? So we've had some problems with some other European countries,
I know.
but hopefully we'll study those policies of yours and see what we can do to negotiate with other countries. Let me shift to another group of people, the seafarers. We supply probably the most number of seamen in the world.
You do 750,000.
And then Denmark, of course, is a big maritime country. We've had some problems in the past. I think the last time we had a sit-down meeting when I was holding another job, this was a major issue. Of course, some things were fixed, but of course, it's an ongoing, it's a process, right, to fix all of the concerns. Where are we now? Where are we in terms of complying with European standards? Are there any other issues that need to be brought up, and what are the next steps?
There is this question of the certification, which is very important, because the European certification is actually not just for boarding European ships, but a lot of countries simply demand the European certificate and don't have a national one, so it is more or less a global certificate. So it's quite important that this gets fixed. So the problem has been that some of the Filipino seafarer schools are not up to standard, and therefore that threatens the certification from the Philippines in being compliant with the regulations. So right now, fortunately, there is a EU program which is trying to help the Philippines strengthen its educational system, and basically it's about getting rid of the black sheep in the seafarer education, who are short-shifting not only the certification
but
program,
the Filipinos paying
the
tuition.
Filipinos paying. I mean, my God, people are paying for something they're not getting, and that's very unfair. And we know for some families, I mean, the whole family comes together to educate and pay for this seafarer, to allow that person to go overseas and earn a good living, able to send some money back to the family, and that they should not be short-shifted in this way. So we are working together with the government on that. Actually, the former head of the Danish Maritime Authority will actually be coming to the Philippines to help the Philippines with this. He's employed by the EU to supervise the program, and he's a highly regarded international expert, and he has been a member of the EMSA board, which is the European Maritime Authority, for many years. So he's really well positioned to help the Philippines. I'm very happy for that. We will also have a maritime attaché at the embassy.
This is a new position at your embassy.
We expect it to be filled January 1. There are still some ongoing talks about the exact...
Do you have many maritime attachés around the world, or is this going to be...
No, we don't. We have 2 in Asia. And, I'm even...
So this will be the third?
This will be the second.
This will be the second,
Second, so we don't have a lot. And the other one was in Indonesia, and that position is actually vacant now. I don't even know if it's going to be refilled. So
what will be the primary role of this attaché?
Well, that attaché will have a lot of roles because we have so much ongoing in the Philippines. So we have cooperation around the IMO, digitization
International Maritime Authority.
International Maritime Organization, digitization of seafarer books, which is a priority for Denmark and the Philippines. Can be very helpful in lower costs for the seafarers. We have a shipbuilding initiative, which is a global one, trying to make the Philippines a great shipbuilding nation. We have the certification program, of course, also, but we also have things like search and rescue for the Coast Guard. And even more than I've just said now. So there's quite a lot
of things
ongoing.
And this is by one person?
Well, the embassy will help.
Of course,
we'll be there.
You have a lot of priorities.
But we have a lot ongoing in the Philippines, and also on the Navy side, we have a lot ongoing.
You mentioned shipbuilding, and I learned something from you earlier today before we started the interview that about 4% of our GDP is actually generated.
Yes.
So can you talk about maybe some of Denmark's initiative there?
Yes, we've taken a global global initiative trying to bring large-scale shipbuilding to the Philippines.
Okay.
Right now, the situation is that China is taking over more and more of large-scale shipbuilding. They have more than 80% already, and there's a real risk that they will continue to take market share, which will create a very, very narrow supply chain for the leading shipping companies around the world, but also for naval shipbuilding, frankly, you know, because then you don't build large ships, you're not going to build large naval ships either. Yeah. So this is a real worry. And what we will try to do during our seminar, which will take place in Manila 12 and 13 November, is to create the opportunity to look at a new way of building ships, which has been introduced, which is now operating in Australia. A Danish company called OMT sort of developed this and implemented it for the Australians. But it's really about having much more efficient shipbuilding than previously, which would allow the Philippines to compete with China and take a big market share. And OECD, who made a review of the shipbuilding sector in the Philippines, believes that there is ample opportunity for the Philippines to do twice as much shipbuilding. That could add 4% to the GDP, even just doubling what you're doing already. That's a huge, economic benefit. We're talking about qualified jobs, we're talking about our manufacturing industry with supply chain, which can also strengthen the Philippines' opportunity to have growth in the manufacturing side, which is something that Philippines is lacking.
Interesting.
We're super excited, and we know the government is very excited, and we will have global attendance again in November. Because I can tell you, not only Denmark and the Philippines is excited, a lot of countries are looking eagerly to this because they are worried about China taking over all large shipbuilding.
I have to take a break, but before I do, are we talking about interest from the Danish shipbuilding industry, or is this more of a preparatory work so that, you know, more Danish companies from that industry will look toward this way?
This is, it's further than that, because the idea is at the seminar to have to build a coalition of the willing, a business interest.
I see.
That are specifically interested in working on this, and then have a feasibility study to look at, this is how it could be done. So we want decisions coming out of the meeting 12 and 13 November.
Wow, very interesting. We'll be right back with Ambassador Franz Michael Melvin. Please stay tuned.
Paano nga ba nakakatulong ang gamot na tirzepatide sa mga pasyenteng may diabetes at obesity? At ano-ano ang mga dapat tandaan tungo sa wastong paggamit nito? Ating alamin.
Say goodbye forever na nga ba talaga sa mga sweets kapag nagka-diabetes? At paano nga ba ang change of lifestyle na dapat gawin upang mas maayos itong ma-manage? Lahat ng yan ay ating hihimayin kasama ang isang medical expert.
At ang inyong mga katanungan sa gamot, ating sasagutin.
Abangan sa Doc Truba ngayong linggo, 7:30 ng umaga. Dito lamang yan sa IBC TV 13.
Back to the Chairman's Report. I'm Dante, Klink. We're talking to Ambassador Franz Michael Melvin of Denmark. Let me take a step back. You know, they're talking a lot of exciting things, investments in renewable energy and shipbuilding, of course, for the medical workers in your country and au pairs. But maybe give us an overview. Where does the Philippines and maybe Southeast Asia figure in Danish foreign policy? Why the interest in this part of the world?
Well, we have two basic interests. One is economic growth, and you do see a growth story in the Philippines, and the other is the security policy and geostrategic placement of the Philippines, which has come up very large over the last couple of years. And for good reason, I believe that there's a lot more interest here. And actually this summer, when I was in Copenhagen for the Danish ambassadors meeting, so all ambassadors come together, our defense secretary said that Ukraine was, of course, our most foremost concern because we're confronting Russia there.
Yeah.
And Denmark is the largest supporter of Ukraine compared to size of the country, but we're also the third largest in absolute terms.
Oh.
So huge effort by Denmark in Ukraine. But still, he said, the only other conflict that I'm looking at right now is the South China Sea.
Okay.
And that is because if something happens in this part of the world, it will have a huge reverberations, and it's the only conflict outside of Europe that directly threatens Danish welfare and economy. So this is why the Philippines, with its placement, has come up very large. And that's not just true for Denmark, that's true for the Europeans, it's true for Japan, South Korea, Australia, for New Zealand, for your traditional friends, and then of course also the US.
Correct.
So I believe that the Philippines will continue to be very much in focus for both these reasons. One is as a growth opportunity. You get your doing business and economic policies right.
Sure.
You have a huge potential for rapid economic growth. Your neighbors did it. The Philippines could do it too. And for the security policies, because the world has become more uncertain, the old paradigm is gone. It's not, lingering or dying or whatever. It has changed. Yeah. It's gone. And we have to relate to that. And one of those relationships is for the Philippines and like-minded democratic countries to build solid ties that will allow us that are middling countries, middling powers, to stick together and defend a rules-based world order and the systems that we believe in against the vicissitudes and storms that are raging and which can become quite difficult to maneuver. Right. And those are the ties that we are building rapidly and I think also very successfully with the Philippines.
Sure. You know China more than the ordinary person. You worked there. You were
5 years. So.
And we hear a lot of things in the news. Is it as grave as we hear it from media, or as I said, the situation more than anyone. But how would you assess, right, the situation, and what exactly is the threat? Right. I mean, you said economic, all right, and of course the situation of the countries in China's shadow in this part of the world. But are we sometimes overreacting when we watch the news, or from your perspective, what is a more maybe a more professional way to look at the situation?
I think it's very important to look at exactly what is China doing.
Okay.
So it has stated very clearly it wants the South China Sea to be a Chinese inlet. For example, they announced this national park, which is clearly directed against the Philippines. The South China Sea is larger than India. So the huge area we're talking about, and it obviously contravenes UNCLOS and the law of the seas to make these claims. But China does seem adamant, and they have also made statements to the fact that they want that to be a Chinese inland, and they want to pressure other fleets and security forces out of that area, basically. That, of course, would push their front very much close to, for example, a country like the Philippines, and it would also make it possible for them to dominate a very large part of international sea trade. So that is a long-term worry, and I think we should all be concerned about what China is doing and what they're saying. It's not like, oh, we have a fantasy about this. I mean, you can read this. Now, I don't believe they will attack Philippines, let me say about that. That's not happening. I mean, that's just not happening. But that does not preclude that there could be clashes or that the Philippines could be hugely affected. I mean, Xi has said, you know, he has an ambition with Taiwan in 2028. You have hundreds of thousands of Filipinos living there.
Taiwan's very
and
close
the
to
former Chinese ambassador, I mean, he made an indirect threat that if there's trouble up there, then maybe Filipinos would get bombed. I mean, well, why do we need statements like that? It's not helpful. And I would wish that China, through its actions, through its statements, sort of could reassure us about its intentions. But as long as it does not do that, we have to act accordingly.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. So I'd say we're trying to write insurance policies for the future. Because the present is difficult.
Well, you know, when you talk about insurance policy, part of that is security response, but part of it also is economic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And here, Philippines has potential.
Right, and as you have been mentioning in many of these industries. So, are you looking at just the Philippines or ASEAN? You know, that's another topic for us, because in the Philippines we'll be hosting the ASEAN summits this year. Are you looking at Southeast Asia as a region and the Philippines as a part of that, or where do we play in Denmark's reading of the situation here? So.
Economically, we're looking very much at ASEAN, and I think ASEAN has been a great success story on the economic side. I have to congratulate, you know, all ASEAN countries, including Philippines as a founding member. I mean, it really created results and will bring even more prosperity and growth to the area, to the great success story with ASEAN. However, on the geostrategic side, we see a much more mixed picture.
Sure.
And one of the things I can mention here is that Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, they are now part of the BRICS, and you know, that's their decision, and I'm not going to, criticize or put a value sticker on that. But of course, it is a signal that they have moved closer to China.
Right.
It is, because BRICS is very much a Chinese-driven project, and
would you say that this is a reaction to what's going on maybe in the U.S., or there are other factors that maybe played into the decision?
I can't comment on that, because I don't have clear information on what the motives have been, but the signal is there.
Okay.
And the signal tells us that on the economic side, ASEAN, very successfully has established economic cooperation, a growth area, great cooperation with China, by the way, also, which is great, and with the rest of us. I mean, on the economic side, there's nothing to be unhappy about. On the contrary, on the security policy side, it's a more mixed picture.
Right.
Where are these countries positioning themselves? And there is no doubt that one of the big questions in the world right now is, what will the rivalry between the U.S. and China, how will that play out? And at the end of the day, that may also lead to decisions about, which side of the fence will people go, and
maybe what role the European partners will play here?
And everybody will have to make those decisions if the time comes. I think all of us don't want to.
I think that's the general agreement, right? We don't want conflict.
Let's not go there. That's it. But as I said, we are drawing up insurance policies now, because if we have to go there one day, we have to have answers.
Well, some people smarter than me have said that, in order to avoid conflict, you need to have strong deterrence. But anyway, I think we could talk about this for the entire episode, but
that could be a whole week.
another program. But Ambassador, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I always enjoy talking to you. Learned a few things, and very much encouraged by what your countrymen are doing in the Philippines. And maybe next time we'll see you inaugurating some very promising projects that are in the pipeline right now. But before we go, would you like to maybe say some words to our audience before we end the program?
Absolutely, because I'd like to underline that we see the Philippines very much and the Filipinos very much as friends, as allied and like-minded when it comes to international rule-based order. And remember, freedom fights the tide.
All right, well said, Ambassador. Thank you very much for your time again. And of course, thank you to our viewers. This has been the Chairman's Report. I'm Dante Klink, and I'll see you next week.